Hey loves, it's Dr. Simone Ellis, and this is Beyond the Chair Dental Podcast. I am so excited because when I was at this dental conference this year, actually, I was enamored, and that is the correct word for using watching this man get on stage and not only kill it with his outfit because he came super fresh. I had to wear my special glasses because he told me something about his glasses. I'm gonna ask him that question when we get on the show, because I was like, listen, if we gonna come fly, I want to make sure I can match this guy's energy. I had the pleasure of talking to Steve Harris. Steve, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to interview you, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Your presence is something as a force to be reckoned with, and when you come into your space, you want to be connected. So thank you so much for coming on today.
You're worth it. Glad to be here. Super stoked. And look, I mean, I love your glasses. You've just totally got it going on. So I love it.
Can you tell everybody why we really like what was the saying behind the glasses and why I had to match that fly, right?
I think both of us were at the same conference and I was speaking, and I think I said something on the stage that I don't wear glasses to see, I wear them to be seen. You know what I'm saying? So let's go.
I don't even wear glasses in real life. Like, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, I'm not even that person. But I was like, I'm coming correct today because I want to.
You came correct. You came ready to go.
So, Steve, for people who do not know about you, because I mean, guys, on Instagram, you guys will see, of course, the link on the YouTube channel as well. But let's talk a little bit about what you do, why you do it, and how you even got into the speaking, the public, commanding the presence, the branding, all of the great things that you are behind.
Thank you for having me again. And, totally stoked because I need to say this right off the bat because I follow you. Of course, we follow each other on Instagram. And every time you post and you have somebody on the podcast, I'm like, this should be me. Like, come on, girl.
I mean, listen, like if we didn't have to reschedule because y'all know y'all teeth be teething and y'all be trying to have me be a real dentist sometimes.
Yeah.
I would have had started and ended with you. Okay. Like season 1, 2, 3.
Like, come on, girl. Like when are you bringing me on the pod? So I'm really glad. So finally, Houston, I made it. So Mama, I made it. We're finally here. Dr. Simone,
all the rest
ready
of
to
the
go.
conferences. This is where you needed to be.
this is where I needed to be. I needed to meet you. This is where it's at. But basically, my name is Steve Harris. I'm a business coach. That's what I do, and primarily what I try to do is I help my clients, tap into what I call God-sized thinking. You know what I mean? I want them to do giant-sized stuff. So I'm the kind of coach who, if you're thinking of doing something small, it's a waste of my time. Don't even call me, right? I only work with clients who perhaps are considered as the top 1% in their fields. And I help them just go into that space where they can do God-sized things. You know what I mean? And that really excites me. Beyond that, I've been a management consultant for going on 2 decades. I know I don't look it. I got a little gray here and there, but that is that. I also am a speaker and an author. So, hey, super stoked. Let's go.
Actually, let me just ask that question now.
Let's go.
I was at a conference, and I won't say the conference's name, but one of the things that really kind of bothered me, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about it before we get into the title, guys. And we do have a title, we have a run a show, but
yes,
I think this would be a
great. We are pros. We're professionals.
Yeah, we have an agenda. Okay, like stop playing with us. So one of the things that they said to me were, I was presenting about the show. The podcast got picked up for a big conference there, and we were talking about, they came up to me and they said, "Oh my God, you're such an amazing speaker. We love you. You're such a light. We have a beautiful box to put you in." And
no way.
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt like they wanted to say. They didn't say it that way. They said to the degree of, "We have an amazing program that we would like to have for African American women," right?
Correct.
And so I had an opportunity to speak to one of my other colleagues who has an amazing podcast, does great stuff, really a force to be reckoned with in our dental industry. And he was like, "Well, how did everything go?" And I said, "It went great." Right. Until, this box came up, and he said, "Well, tell me about it." And I said, "You're a Jewish white guy, right?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Have you ever been told, like, you're an amazing speaker, we have a Jewish white male program to create for you," right? And he said, no. And I said, imagine that being my story my entire life, is that I am amazing and I know I'm dynamic. And here's a beautiful box to put you in. How do
Right.
you deal with that, even from a cultural standpoint? That kind of goes back into the swag. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'll kill it regardless.
Yeah.
But I wish that I would have been just seen for my talent and not necessarily what I can't change.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, first off, I'm going to say that put this in context. So I'm Nigerian, and we own the room everywhere we go,
Everywhere.
and I've lived in the U.S. now for well, literally lived now with my family for about 2 years. Even though I've traveled and visited the U.S. and stuff, but this is the first time we're living, uh, being so far away from home. And the reason, first off, that I came to the US was because I figured, no disrespect and no shade, and just owning it. I've owned Nigeria, I've owned Africa. You know what I mean? And the next frontier is to come to the US, where everyone seemingly goes global. And I will be frank with you, and I said this to a friend of mine, and I know we have a very diverse audience who's listening to your pod, but I will say this. I said, I've realized that, forgive me, that, white people like white coaches and black people like white coaches too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I've noticed that, but I think my answer to being stereotyped is to prove that you're better than everyone else.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And not being afraid to show how amazing you are. I believe that stars have no geographical boundaries, and irrespective of the box that people try to put you in, sometimes my answer is just clearly and simply no. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
refuse to be put into an African or I mean, we're black. You're African American. I'm African, as the case may be. If you break it
Right.
down, then there's Nigerian. Do we have the African box? Do we have the African American box? Do we have the Nigerian box, so on and so forth? I believe that your talent should be seen for what it is, but I do understand that there are a few invisible lines here and there. But I just say no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't want me on the big stage, I'm not going to be pigeonholed to something, some sort of stereotype. So that usually is my answer. I just say no.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
And thank you for that, especially because you're on stages with, I mean, Brendan Richard. Well, can we
Yeah,
like highlight? Like, I'm not trying to be funny, but you walk in a room with giants,
yeah.
and I'm inspired by that, and I want to celebrate that
Thank you.
because I know that that journey isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do, but your tenacity, your
That's
perseverance to get there—that's boss all day. So
Thank you.
yeah, so let's get into the actual topic today, which is, guys, embracing innovation and staying ahead of the competition. We're talking about that.
Yeah,
We're kind of saying that, like, hey, you already are the competitor. And so, one of the things that I want to talk to you about is, what are some of the common misconceptions about personal innovation, and how can individuals overcome them and foster a more innovative mindset?
right. I think that's a fantastic question. And, the short answer is you've got to recognize that you're not supposed to serve everyone. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we're caught up in saying that every Tom, Dick, and I'm not going to say Harry because my name is Harris, for obvious reasons, but we like to believe that everyone is our customer, and
Mm,
they're not. I believe that you shouldn't work for your audiences. I think that your audiences or your customers should work for you. And what I mean by that is, as entrepreneurs, we like to audition to our clients to prove to them how amazing we are so that they can choose us. I think the flip side should be you're so amazing that the clients need to prove why you need to choose them to work with
mm,
them. And I think it's a totally different paradigm shift, because a lot of entrepreneurs feel like, oh, I need to prove to you, I need to audition, I need to kowtow, as opposed to the client being intimidated and saying, look, do I even deserve to work with you? And I think that
mm.
has to be deliberate. And, that's why we were saying before we started the pod that um, you've got to, I tend to polarize the people that, with my marketing, because I recognize I'm not for everyone. Some people like water, and that's fine. Some people like soda. That's fine. I like to think of myself like a good shot of tequila. You know what I'm saying? It's not for everyone. You take a sip, you take a shot, it's gonna burn you a little
And
bit.
you're
Then you're
like,
gonna be like,
ah.
give me some more, just give me some more, give me some lime. Ugh, suck that lime. You know what I'm saying? That's who I am. So
Yeah.
if you're not a tequila drinker, you're not for me. You know what I mean? So I think the mistake we make is we try to attract everyone. And in trying to speak to everyone, you're speaking to no one. You know
Mm.
what I mean? You've got to recognize that your business, your brand is an extension of your identity, and you can create the emotional experience that your clients have. And I tell people that a brand isn't a logo, a brand isn't a fancy website or a very greatly beautiful curated social media Instagram page. That's not your brand. Your brand is the emotional connection that your clients have with you, right?
Mm.
And you've got to be deliberate to curate that emotional expression. And there are five of them, if I can go into them really,
Yes.
really quickly. There are five brand expressions. So, number one is love. And I'll explain them. There's love, there's hate, there's love to hate, there's hate to love, and then there's ignore. So, I'll say that again. So, there's hate, love to hate to love, and then there's ignore. Unfortunately, most entrepreneurs are in the ignore category. So no
Mm.
matter what they do, because they don't resonate, they don't make their customers skip a beat, their marketing is very flat lined. Your clients tend to ignore you. So let's go to the other four. Now, and these brands are deliberately curated. And if they're not, you will have number five which is ignore as the response. You know what I mean? So you have love, for example. So there's some people whose brands are unicorns and rainbows and it's kumbaya and holding hands and it's sweet. You know what I'm saying? And it's great. They push that narrative out there. So they can't be embroiled in scandal. They can't risk offending, so on and so forth. They've got to toe the line, and that's okay because they don't want to ruffle the feathers. So they push a brand that is consistently unicorn and rainbows. That's love. Then you have other brands that push hate, or what I call us against them. So let's not go with hate, but let's go with us against them. So for these brands, they deliberately choose an enemy. It's like Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. It's like Apple against Android. There is a clear and distinct enemy, and their marketing reflects that. And then there is the brands that you love to hate or the brands that you hate to love. So these guys, you're not exactly sure how you feel about them because they push you and they pull you. So they get your pulses racing. They may offend you sometime, and then you're over the moon with them. So it's just that delicate balance of being able to push and pull. And this is where I find my brand because I'm very pushy and then pulley. So you may look at me. Some people say, "Oh, Steve is so cocky and he's so arrogant." I remember that when I came to the conference that you and I both met, I was backstage and the team were like, "Oh, don't worry, Steve, you're gonna crush it." I was like, "Oh yeah, I know." They're like, "Oh, a little cocky, aren't you?" I was like, "No, I know, I'm gonna kill this." And I came out and I killed it.
You
I
killed
smoked
it.
killed
Killed it.
it. You know
Like
what
you
I'm
guys should
saying?
have seen the line around him. It was like he was like Kobe, and I was like, "Oh my God! Like I gotta be
I'm the guy.
Kobe.
I'm him. Like
You
I
him."
am him. You know what I'm saying? So that was deliberate. So that's love to hate to love, or ignore. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are not deliberate with the emotional expression, and it's got to be consistent. You know what I mean? And here's the thing about the love hate or the hate love is when your clients get into the mix, they will love you, but everyone outside is going to be curious, and they've got things to say about you. They're complaining that you're cocky or you're exclusive or you're pricey or this, and that's the greatest attention. So your clients don't hate you, they love you, they're in love with you. But everybody else, it's like that Chris Brown line that, "Oh, you can't even get in the club, you're just
Right.
outside looking in." That's what it
Yes.
is, and that's that love hate thing. But if you don't do any of those four, you naturally get number five, which is where your clients ignore you, you're struggling to make a sale, they don't feel happy to be affiliated with you because there's nothing in it for them. So they could might as well just ignore you. So that's the mistake that I feel a lot of entrepreneurs make.
Yeah, and I think that also part to add to that, or maybe ask another question is when we're dentists and we're opening offices, right? And the thing is that you're talking about your brand. You're kind of concerned about, well, don't I gotta appeal to everybody? I'm just trying to keep the doors open, right? Like
Yeah.
I need to get this sale because Susie over here
Yeah.
got little John that needs to be
Yeah.
fed, and I don't know. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs are like, well, how do you polarize people or alienate a base or
Yeah.
decide to embrace a base when you don't even have a patient flow? Or, and this is for any entrepreneur, when you're
Yeah.
opening a business and you need those people to come in at the beginning, isn't it very common for everybody to think about trying to appeal to everybody so you can start getting clients?
Right. It's a great question, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs are dealing with that. So I'll give you an example of something that I did with a client. So she had this makeup brand doing pretty okay, and she was attracting everyone, but she wanted to stand out. And then there were others in the industry who were the giants, so to speak, the heavy hitters. And she couldn't compare with them and stuff like that, but she was just going about her hustle and wanted to take the next step.
Okay.
And so I said to her, I said, okay, tell me who your clients are. She was like, well, I just do makeup for anyone who just comes in. I'm like, okay, so basically your clients are anyone who's got skin, right? So anyone who's got skin, you do makeup for them. She was like, yeah, pretty much. So I said to her, how's that going? Wasn't going great. So I asked her, I said, okay, why don't we decide to polarize the people that you don't want to serve? And I gave an example. So I said, let's assume, rather than just serving everyone, you decided that you wanted to do makeup for dark skinned women alone. You know what I mean? So your brand evolves around ladies with beautiful melanin skin, dark skinned girls, right? And your marketing and your polarizing simply says, if you're light skinned, this ain't for you. You know what I'm saying? If you're a yellow chick, this ain't for you. You know what I mean? Like yellow girls suck and black queens rock, whatever the case may be. And I said to her, I said, do you know what's going to happen? Because if your clients call, if a client calls and says they want to schedule a makeup consultation with you, and your first question is, "Hey, what's your skin tone?" And then they say, "Well, maybe I'm light skin." So are we talking about vanilla light skin? Maybe you have different coffee grades of your
Yeah.
melanin, so to speak, and the person is on the lighter shade of brown, and you say, "Well, I'm so sorry, we don't serve light skinned girls here." Now, what do you think is going to happen? Number one, that person's going to be upset. Number two, she's going to tell her friends. Like, can you imagine? I called Simone and she said she don't serve light skinned chicks. And guess what's going to happen? And what's going to happen? Conversation. So you've got some attention. It's creating conversation. Now, what's going to happen is now, because you've created that polarization, the dark skinned girls, as an example, will own you and say, this is our representative. This is our girl. This is our person. You know how it is, Simone. Where ladies say, for example, "Oh, I don't get maybe makeup in my skin tone for African American women," as an example, or
Yeah.
I don't get it in my
This is
shade.
why
But
Rihanna killed it, right? Like killed it.
exactly, that's what she did. She just
She
simply said, "This is
literally
the."
killed it.
That's what she did. That's all she did,
Yeah.
right? And turned down the other market, as the case may
Yeah.
be. Now, the moment this particular client did that, she was very afraid because of the backlash, the polarization. But you know what she did? Her business grew more than 300% simply because of that strategy, Simone. I kid you not. By saying, I don't serve light skinned chicks, it created attention, it created conversation. People were
What? I am
talking.
literally over here like,
Re-
oh
you
my
know,
God.
you get what I'm saying? Because I think the problem is entrepreneurs have the illusion of scarcity. We feel like if I turn down this market, I'm going to lose so much. Meanwhile, there's so many clients you're never going to be able to serve. This lady could not serve. I mean, look at Rihanna. She can't serve all the black women on the
Yeah.
planet. It's not possible. Do you
Right.
get what I mean? But the moment she polarized and identified and said, "This is who I want to serve, and I'm going to ignore every other person." Now, guess what's happening? Every other person now is trying to get tanned a little bit, get a little bit of brown, so that they can say that they're using Rihanna's fancy products. Do you get what I'm saying? So they want to be affiliated with the brand that is Rihanna. Therefore, so they're using fancy and so on and so forth. So the problem that many entrepreneurs make is we don't identify not who we want to serve. We don't identify who we don't want to serve. And I
Hmm.
think that's harder.
No, I mean, I'm sitting here, trust me, like again, this is how good you are. Like, we're
Tell
gonna
me.
talk afterwards because I'm like, I definitely I gotta sign up for the program. I'm not joking because I'm sitting over here and I'm like, what? Like this is so I think it's so uncomfortable for people to
Yeah.
want to feel like they want to alienate people. And I agree with
Yeah.
that. Like one of the things for me is, I coach dentists, and part of the part of my thought process with my doctors are, we got to hold each other accountable. And I think that in my
Mhm.
industry, sometimes we're just like, well, these are all the excuses why. And I'm like, no, if you're fat because you really
Yeah.
chose not to wake up. But could I say that? I mean, I just be like, well, let's talk about a system to get yourself on an alarm. But in my mind, I'm like, no, sis, you just
Yeah.
didn't do
Yeah.
the work.
You just fat. You
You
just
was
fat. That's
fat.
what
Like
it is.
you're choosing that lifestyle, and there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with you being fat, but I just don't want you to continue to have that be a
Yeah.
negative cycle. So what you're talking about to me is like, and I know probably for listeners, which you probably get when you are speaking, people are like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But growing would you say 300%?
Yeah, 300%.
Listen, math
And
don't
that was in the
math,
first 2 months.
that math is a nice math. I'm like, well, maybe we need to kind of make some people be like, you just fat girl, own it, and then just keep on.
Because here's the problem, Simone. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are looking at short-term profits and losing a
Yeah,
long-term brand.
yeah.
What do you want to build? Do you want to build a long-term brand, or do you just want to have short-term profit? Because guess what's going to happen? As long as you're serving everyone, you're really serving no one.
Yeah,
Do you get what I mean?
I
And
agree.
after a while, they're going to get bored with you. They're going to look for the flavor of the month that is exclusive, that is private, that is bougie, that doesn't want everyone. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. And they're going to pay that guy top dollar. But you who've been faithful and you've been serving, and you've been loyal and accommodating and inclusive and all the nice words that we use, you're going to go broke after a while.
Yeah, and now I'm thinking about brands that actually do that all the time. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
so I'm a big fan of, well, no, maybe they may market, they may advertise on my podcast or something. You
They
never
may.
know, right? So let me not say this out loud, but one brand is very luxe, and I love it, and they never go on
Yeah.
sale. And I almost love
Right.
it more because it never goes on sale. Where the other
Yeah.
brand is too common, and I'm like, I don't really like wearing that
Oh,
one because I know that I can get that at a discount, or I see it more on individuals where I'm like, does that connect to who
yeah.
I consider my persona or my identity? So my next question is what role does continuous learning and staying up to date in the industry trends foster into your personal innovation? You know, we have what TikTok viral is right now. Water is like popping right now, but literally next week, no one will be
Right.
talking about water.
True.
What are your thoughts about that? Like, how important is this continually learning? And we are at the precipice of no, we're not in the precipice. We are in the
Right.
learning, the information era. How does somebody keep up? Like, and is it important anymore?
It's important, but I think your message has to be the same across different platforms. I think the problem is a lot of us are so caught up in the new platforms like TikTok or this, that, and the other, and we try to adapt who we are to serve this particular audience. So we're schizophrenic.
Mhm.
So you're something on TikTok, something different on Instagram, you're corporate on LinkedIn. You've just got total, schizophrenia, as opposed to being able to recognize that the platform is an extension of your brand communication. So you're not supposed to fit yourself into the platform. You're supposed to use the platform to extend yourself. So you can be the same person. You don't have to be goofy. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to dance and point in different directions and stuff, because I see there are a lot of trends. But here's the thing, trends change, trends fade, trends go out of style. But if you want to be who you are, I mean, give an example. Let's say with whatever politics, let's use politics, whether you're Trump or Biden, Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. But let's say, let's use Trump. Trump isn't going to, for example, become goofy on TikTok because TikTok needs to, pop. He's not going to do that. He's going to be the same person. You don't like me, this is me, right? He's not going to change what his messaging is for the platforms. And I think that's the mistake that entrepreneurs make. We adjust ourselves for the platform as opposed to recognizing the platform is an extension of who you are. Sure, you can try to connect a little bit more to the audience, but the point really is, do you want to change your messaging? Do you want to change the experience that people are having of you? All of a sudden, what happens is you start diluting your brand across different platforms. So you're serious here, goofy here, educated here, corporate there, snazzy here, fashionista there. You're schizophrenic.
And so I play devil's advocate and I say, okay,
Yeah.
so then with that conversation, one of the things that I realized, like for my own personal brand, I have a decent amount of followers, and mostly I target doctors because that's what my conversation is, right? So I think that for the doctor
Yeah.
Instagram,
I got you.
I could be popping, right? Not necessarily for like big stuff, but like for doctors, we're good over here, right?
No, you're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good.
I'm trying
No,
to say,
not too shabby. Not too shabby.
yeah, we're just growing. Now, my sister, on the other hand, this is her full-time job. So like we talk
Right.
about almost 40,000 followers over here versus 230,000, right? Like, and you look at
Right.
her, that's a huge difference. So when we
Right.
talk about, there's two different types of Instagram posting or engagement, what they talk about, which is education or
Yeah.
entertainment, or you can do both and try to combo.
Right.
What I have found to be a struggle is that people say, well, why did you put a swimsuit picture up? And I said,
Right.
well, to be honest, y'all didn't listen to anything I had to say that was intellectual. So I get you with the picture, right? And then
True.
you start going through her page and like, oh, she actually makes sense. But like,
Right.
this is my thirst trap. So how
Yeah.
do you,
Bait and
how,
switch. Yeah.
yeah, like the bait and switch. So how do you, continue? I get what you're saying, the schizophrenia, because sometimes it can feel like that, especially for people who
Yeah.
are not a part of that industry. For the people that know that they're appealing to the 1%, which is the education
Yeah.
aspect, and 99% wants the bullshit, right?
Yeah.
The let me dance, let me point, let me show
Yeah.
you the things.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
How talk to me? How does I'm
Yeah.
asking self? Self is her. Her wants to
Yeah.
go. Like, what are we doing?
Right. So in your case, let me diagnose from a brand perspective. So in your case, what you're really selling is lifestyle entrepreneurship through medicine. That's what you're selling. You're
Yes.
selling financial freedom through healthcare, in this case, dentistry. So if you thought about it and said, your clients may not necessarily be the people who want to get their teeth fixed,
Right.
not necessarily. They're buying into Simone as a brand. And Simone is a lifestyle entrepreneur. And Simone is this educated, incredibly articulate, beautiful woman who happens to own a business about dentistry. So when you come into Simone's world, right, she's all about the knowledge, but she's also all about having a good time.
Yeah.
Now, most of your clients, here's the ugly truth. I dare say over 99% of your clients will never get their teeth fixed in your business. They will never probably come to Houston, and because again, probably getting your teeth fixed might not necessarily be something that you do every day or every month or every year. But will they buy into Simone as an authority where it comes to freedom and success and entrepreneurship and living your life and being, authentic and so on and so forth? So you're just this woman who's got this beautiful, amazing community of women who also want to be financially free. They want to be physically fit. They want to look great. They want to talk great. And they also want to make it big in bank. So you're not selling the tool. Your tool, allow me to use the word, is dentistry. That's not
Yeah.
what you're selling. People are buying you,
They're buying the
not necessarily.
lifestyle.
They're buying the lifestyle. So that's what you're selling. Do you get
And
what I
so
mean?
for
She
other
just
doctors that
happened.
are marketing, then
Yeah,
they're basically selling themselves as a brand to connect to their patients.
absolutely. That's what
Mm.
it is. Because guess what? Beyond just even, beyond just even, the service of probably coming to your business, you could offer advisory consultations that people can, telemedicine and all that stuff that you guys do, right? Without them ever having to come into your space. And most of your clients, if you look at your insights, you'd be surprised that most of your clients, perhaps maybe would be women. Well, okay, you're beautiful. Allow me to say there may be a lot of men there too. So there we go. So
They're
do you
my
get what I'm
DMs are
saying? So
always popping. Okay.
there we go. So hey, you said it. You said it. So that's what it is. You know what I mean? And they're gonna buy. They're gonna buy your advice. They're gonna buy your lifestyle. They're gonna buy the freedom that comes with having financial freedom. I think you were in Bali or somewhere beautiful maybe a couple of weeks ago, and
Yeah.
there are women who are watching you who are saying, "I want to have this kind of freedom that she has, but I don't know how to get it." So they buy you, not necessarily the dental history that you're so great for. So
Mm.
that's what it is.
So basically, guys, he's saying like sell yourself as a brand, and then the people will come, right? So
They'll
I need
come,
to take more vacations. That's okay. I heard it. I
girl.
heard it. Let me go and take more vacations, and then people will
Let's
purchase
go.
more of
Let's
my.
go. Let's go.
That's
Let's go.
exactly on site. I'm buying a plane ticket after I get off this show. So, are there any personal interests or passions where innovation, and particularly critical, are crucial for achieving success, and why? So let me read that back again for the tongue
Yeah.
tie. Are there any personal interests or passions where innovation is particularly crucial for achieving success, and why?
Um, so let's dumb things down a little bit, because innovation can be such a technical word.
Okay.
The dumbest way of explaining innovation is finding better ways to do something, finding much more effective ways, better ways to do something, right? So basically, in everything that you do, right? So, for example, you've got an amazing business in Houston, right? But now with your pod, you're able to reach people around the world. Do you get what I'm saying? You're able to reach people in Africa, in the Middle East, and now they're going to be able to buy into who you are. And what you've done is you've taken your knowledge, which perhaps you might have imparted to some customer in your business while they were on the chair getting operated on or fixed and something like that. And you're going into much more deeper conversations. I mean, think about this conversation. We haven't said squat about dentistry.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Right? Because you're going to attract a diverse audience who would follow you for different things.
Yeah.
Some will follow you because, oh, you're smart. Some will follow you because, oh, you're funny. Some will, whatever the case may be. Right. So my point is, there's always that possibility where you can find new ways to do the consistent old things, and helping you adapt is part of it. Do you get what I'm saying? So I don't think that there's any way that we should be limited in innovating, but we still have to be true to our core so that we don't have that whole schizophrenic thingamajiggy that I talked about prior. Yeah.
How did you figure out or decide that that was going to be your calling or your brand? And like, I mean, was it books that you were reading? Was it courses that you were taking? Like, you very fine-tuned like who you are and what your presence is. How did you figure that out?
To be honest, I think I just owned the fact that I wanted to be myself. I'll give you an example. A lot of the coaches that I know, my friends perhaps, and people in the industry are, allow me to use the word, no disrespect, goody two shoes. Every coach is
Great
wholesome, goody
guys,
two shoes.
yeah.
They're great. They're
Yes,
great
yeah.
guys, right? And everyone wants to know. So tell me about what's happening with you, and they want to listen. And I found out that that's not me. You know what I'm saying? If you ever watch maybe The X Factor, or I think it's American Idol, where, Simon Cowell is there and all the other judges are like, oh, no, you did great. Oh, it was great. Simon says, look, do you have a music
Suck.
teacher? You suck. You don't have
Exactly,
you have no business being in front of a microphone. And that was who I was. That's who I am. But I noticed that I
oh,
had to pander and be sweet. I mean, I'm sweet. I do have a sweet, sweet soft side. But I noticed that I had to pander and be sweet. And I was like, listen, I'm going to call you out on your bullshit. You suck. Right. So I was just doing that. Right. And I found out that the more I did it, the freer I became. So I don't go about, trying to hurt anyone's feelings, but I give you the ugly truth. You know what I mean? I give you the ugly truth. I'm not trying to pretend. I'm not trying to pussyfoot around the issue, any of those sorts of things. I just give it to you straight. And people started saying that, oh, Steve had this reputation for ruthlessness. Do you get what I mean? They're like, oh, Steve is ruthless. Steve is all those sorts of things.
yeah.
And that's who I was, or who I am, and I owned it. So I could come on stage and say, I'm going to offend. If I don't offend you, I haven't done my job. And I'm not trying to offend you to hurt your feelings. I'm trying to provoke you to come up higher, to stop accepting the BS stories that you've told yourself. Stop, being all in your feelings and your emotions. And who cares? People have got stuff to worry about. You know what I'm saying? Who cares? So that's how I owned it. And I stopped apologizing for being my authentic self. You know what I mean? So I just recognized that everybody that I liked in different industries were these alpha males who would just give it to you straight. I just want to tell I tend to vocalize what other people are thinking, but are too polite to say.
So instead of
So
Mr. Ruthless execution, you are the executioner. Like, you are
I'm
literally
just
like,
going to
I'm
execute. I'm just going,
going.
let's go off with your head. Let's go.
Yeah, like, I'm not interested in these soft stories. Like,
No,
it's a
no, everyone's got one. Everyone's got a sob story. And whatever, deal with it. Life sucks. Get a helmet. You know what I'm saying? Like, Candace always said, life's a contact sport. Get a helmet. Just move on. You know what I mean? That's really what I'm about. So,
And I like
some
that
people.
you are honest about who you are, because like, really, you're saying it from the beginning, like, hey, I'm not for everybody. Like, I'm on the other extreme of
Yeah.
that, as you probably can tell. I'm like, oh my God. But I don't think I'm nice nasty. I think what I am
No.
is that I'm really like love and light, but I do
Yeah.
have where I'm like, I'm coaching a client yesterday, and she's like, and this stuff and this stuff and this stuff. And I said, can I just be so honest with you? Like, I love you. Like, I want you to know that this is all love.
Yeah.
But do you hear yourself? Let's record it and then do it again. And then I'm gonna play it for yourself. So
Yeah.
it's my way of saying, like, let me hold you out on your bullshit. But did
Yeah.
you just hear it? You were just like, done. Ruthlessness. Let's move on to the next thing. I don't got time to waste, right?
Yeah. It's a wake-up call, but
Yeah.
it's tough love. But you know the thing about tough love, it's love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Are
You
you
would
like this with
never
your
miss
wife
it.
and your kids?
No. My wife is in charge. My wife is in charge. I am her servant, so I
Oh,
serve
I
with her
love
pleasure.
it.
So that's what it is.
I was
I
gonna
know
say,
her.
bring wifey on here right now. We need to have a conversation because my
No.
skin.
She's my boss. I know where my power is at. She's my boss.
All right, so let's go into what are the benefits of setting aside dedicated time for brainstorming and idea generation, and how can individuals effectively incorporate this into their routine? You are an
Yeah.
innovator. You clearly have done the research about branding and how you market yourself, and that took some time. You spent the 10,000 hours. You can tell by your conversation that you've done the work. For individuals, especially who are trying to build in this brand and have the 9 to 5, like what is
Yeah.
like that look like?
You know, you've got to take time out to just sharpen the saw. You've got to take time out to choose to be better. I think a lot of us are just programmed to go, that we don't stop and think. And then some people are just more like stop, think, and don't act. You know, so a lot of people are caught up in that quest for, they're caught up in procrastination, which leads to, they're caught up in perfection, which then leads to procrastination. So they want to get all their ducks in a row. They want to dot their I's, cross their T's and everything. And sometimes I tell people that, that quest for perfection is really procrastination in disguise. And you're procrastinating because you're afraid. And I remember I did a podcast many years ago. I said, will you please fail? Like, please just fail. Let's just get it over with. You know what I mean? What's the worst that can happen? And deal with that and then move forward from there. So I do think it's important for us to be able to sit back and brainstorm. Failure is feedback.
Yeah.
Simone, failure is feedback.
That.
Failure is it's feedback. It's just telling you that, okay, this isn't working. Redirect, course correct. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think a lot of people tend to do that. I also do think that a lot of people tend to spin their wheels. You know, I'll give you an example. I hate working out on the treadmill. You know what I mean? I know I hate it. You know what I'm saying? Can I tell you why I hate it?
Yes,
because I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just spinning my wheels. I'm just moving in a spot. It's like all motion, but no movement. And
That's
it's in my
so
head.
wild.
Yeah. So I'm
Yes.
like, I hate this. I'm spinning my
Meanwhile,
wheels doing nothing.
I'm
Yeah.
on the other side of it. I'm like, that shit will move at the speed regardless of if I'm moving. So
Right.
you better
Yeah.
run, bitch, run. Like that's how I feel. I'm like, you better run because I'm not lowering the speed. Because I would be. That's so crazy. I'm the complete opposite. But please keep
Exactly.
going.
So I think a lot of entrepreneurs are just caught spinning their wheels. You know, they're doing things that make it seem like they're going somewhere, but they're not moving. So they're working on the website, they're tweaking the fonts, they're changing the colors, they're doing something every day that makes it seem like they're working, but in reality, they're just majoring on the minors.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do.
Yeah, I think when I went to Brendan's Growth Day course, and he said something that was so powerful that has really kind of revolutionized my identity. It was most of us are B players playing on C fields, and I was like,
Ooh, so good.
so good, right? And I was like, wait a minute, we know Beyonce plays on an A field all day, so I was like, what am I mean, oh my God, it like just hit me to my core because I was like, I think that that's so true. And I think to the point, when you are an entrepreneur, when you are owning a business, a lot of times you're overwhelmed with the day-to-day operations. It becomes very daunting. You don't know what you don't know. And then there's this self-deprecating feeling of like, I'm the only person that's struggling when Instagram is a highlight reel and everybody is doing freaking phenomenal, right? So what do you suggest to people who are experiencing things like that? Because you're totally right. When I hear quotes like that, it really makes me, for my personality, it's like, step it up, like hands down. Like, we don't have time to play. I just turned
Right.
40, right? I'm like, I can't, if I'm gonna do anything
Congratulations,
different.
girl. You look amazing for 40. You don't look a day over 25.
Thank you. It's the Botox and the pony, right? The pony keeps it young and pulls all the hair back in my skin, and it's just like, girl, you're young, right? No, I was terrified of turning 40, real talk, because I was like,
Been there.
right? Like, all of a
Been
sudden you're
there.
waking up on the edge of the bed and you're like, what happened
Whoa.
here?
Yeah. Where did all the
But
time go?
yeah, at the gym today, I almost fell off the treadmill. I mean, I for real. But for doctors that are kind of like, they can't get that next step. They don't have to turn on the light switch. For the ones that, I know you're not a hand-holding person, but what's the light switch? How do you turn these people on? How do you even activate your clients into becoming the best version of themselves possible?
So you remember in the beginning, I talked about the fact that I get my clients to have what I call God-sized thinking. Problem is, man, people are playing too small. We're doing stuff that's safe. We're doing stuff that's predictable.
Yeah.
I would say to people, do something that scares you,
Yeah.
right? Do something that scares you. Take your goals and break them down into only 5 steps. Nothing more than that, just 5 steps. But 5 of the biggest steps that would move the needle, right? Nothing marginal. People talk about just take baby steps. Baby steps are for wusses. I'm sorry, wusses, and also I don't want to use the pussies, whatever. Forgive me, but that's what I really want to say.
I'm gonna walk in my identity truth. So I said, listen, I cuss, but I love Jesus. We can do it here. It's totally
Exactly.
fine.
So I mean, come on, like, yeah, baby steps are for pussies. I'm sorry, guys. Right? Take massive action. Just take your goals, break them down into only 5 steps. 5 of the biggest steps that scare you. That that if you take this and you do this and you do this and you do this, it's going to make the difference. So, because the truth is, we know what we need to do, Simone, on a cellular level that would give us the results, but our limiting beliefs stand in the way. Our sense of identity begins to sell us short. And we keep saying to ourselves, am I worth it? Would they listen? What if I fail? Bitch, fail. Would you please fail?
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you take those massive actions, you're going to cover way more ground than any of all these other people who are taking baby steps and pooping and peeing all over the place, covering no ground. That's what we need to do. So when I work with my clients, it's just really that simple. All right, what are you trying to do? Let's break it down into 5 things. What are the 5 biggest things that you did? If you did them, that they would scare you, but if you did them, you would get the results. And you would notice by the client, by themselves, the clients will say, if I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this, I would get the results. Okay, so what's stopping you? Well, I'm afraid. Or what if this? What if that? Okay, no problem. Let's go into the worst case scenario. If you failed, what's going to happen? Would you lose your house? No. Would your kids be on the street? No. Okay, would you get embarrassed by your friends? Yes. Okay. If your friends embarrass you, are they real friends? No. All right. At the end of the day, by the time you go through that conversation, so what's holding you back? It's just you and all the BS stories that you've told yourself to just keep you standing still. Time flies. You know what I mean? You just turned 40. I'm going to 45, and I'm like, Jesus, sweet baby Jesus, can you just give me like 10 years back? Take me back to 30. I will do this shit right again.
Right.
Yeah, if you could go back in time and fix it, you'd be bolder. You'd be more audacious. You wouldn't give a rat's tail about what anyone thinks. You just go ahead and do it. But I think because we're so concerned of, what would people think and are we worthy? Look, you're not worthy. Deal with it. Let's go. Let's just go. Let's go. You're not worthy. Deal with it. Or if you're worthy, deal with it. Whatever floats your boat. Just will you please fail? That's what I say.
I think this is a great place to go ahead and wrap up. Steve, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions for our Smile Design Society members, but first,
Sure.
Where can people find you if they are just like so inspired, like I always am, by when you open your mouth, and I want to hear more of what you have to say?
It's my teeth. You're checking on my teeth when I open my mouth. That's what it is. That's what you're doing. You're just looking at my mouth like, let me check out his teeth.
Exactly what it is. I'm like, you know what? I see a feeling that needs to be right now. I'm just kidding.
I'm almost perfect.
You are.
Perfect.
I mean, listen, you had to have a flaw. Like you couldn't.
I had
everything, right?
I just couldn't. Yeah.
Where can they find you?
So basically, Instagram, I am Steve Harris. or my website, IamSteveHarris.com. So that's it. That's you can find me there.
Guys, if you were looking for an amazing coach to get you off your ass, and listen, he's not for the faint of heart. So my weak doctors out here that have a little bit of PTSD or whatever else we're calling it, I don't know if he's going to be for you. But for the ones who are really trying to take it to the next level to become the best versions of themselves possible, this is your guy, Steve. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on our show. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. I don't take that lightly.
You're worth it, girl.
Oh, wow. Come on, I just need to call you every week to be like,
just,
like,
hey,
talk to me,
just
like,
talk to me, man.
Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. Okay. Guys, this is Beyond the Chair. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your followers. And then also, guys, if you're not a part of Small Design Society membership, you're missing out because I'm going to ask this guy a couple more questions and you're not going to know what they are. So please make sure you're joining our subscription. Talk to you soon.